everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of 52-Week Movie Challenge. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and we got this for the 36th week, I think it was. So yeah, week 36. Jeez, we're flowing through this. So I chose the 1994 film Ed Wood, as you can see, as my favorite film. And it whenever people ask me like, "What's your favorite film?" I always tell them Ed Wood. Like that's absolutely by far my favorite film of all time. So we'll get into that and why. Year release was 1994. Date challenge completed was 9/6/22. Aspect ratio is 1.851. Running time is 2 hours and 7 minutes. Genre, it's a biopic, drama, comedy. Rated R. Starring Johnny Depp, Martin Landau, Bill Murray, Patricia Arquette, and Sarah Jessica Parker. Jeffrey Jones. Just a ton of Mike Starr, a ton of actors. I give it a 5-star rating, and we'll get into why all that too. It was directed by Tim Burton, produced by Michael Lehman, executive produced by Michael Lehman. It's also produced by Tim Burton. Written by Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski. Really bad with his name, but Scott and Larry are just amazing writers. Music by Howard Shore. Awards received. It received 2 Oscars for Best Supporting Actor with Martin Landau, and Best Makeup by Rick Baker, who did the makeup for Martin Landau, who played Bela Lugosi. How many times have you watched this movie approximately? I wrote probably more than 100. But I have no idea. This is my comfort movie. This is a movie I watch almost every year, more than once, sometimes every year. So, I don't know. It's one of those movies that occasionally I will find out what I'm gonna do it as. So, gonna watch. So, anyways, let's see. What makes this one your favorite? Well, because it got me to fall in love with the indie B movie world. After seeing this, I realized you didn't need Hollywood to make a movie. But also, I mean, there's a lot to it. Like it represents everything I love. You know, I love making movies. I don't love fundraising movies, and they go into that a little bit. They go into a lot of stuff, and it's just really a fun movie. So, what's your favorite character and why? Ed was my favorite. And I'll go into some other ones I like. Ed was so sweet and sincere in this movie. His optimism was amazing, like amazing optimism. Which in real life, I don't know if he really had that. You know, like I don't think he was as optimistic, especially later in his later years. But I don't think he had that, charming. You know, he was charming. Apparently, he was looked like Errol Flynn, and he just got a lot of people to back him. But they were all like kind of the losers and the outcasts and stuff. Best line of the movie, best line or memorable quote. I said, "Visions are worth fighting for. Why spend your life making someone else's dreams?" That was said by Orson Welles, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, or at least voiced by him, I think. I don't know if that was him as Orson Welles. Because you don't really see him. You kind of see like backs of him or whatever. Favorite scene, probably the scene where Bella yells at Connie about Boris Karloff. Actually, in real life, that didn't actually happen. And Conrad Brooks is kind of sad about that. That like they sort of made him look like the guy that would bother Bela Lugosi and stuff when it didn't actually happen. It was just fun for the movie, I guess, but that kind of sucks. Do you have an interesting tidbit about you in this movie? Yep, I've loved this movie so much. I became an Ed Wood fanatic. Have tons of his movies and books, and even been to a couple of the locations when I was in Hollywood. And anything else you'd like to add? Nope. Watch this any way you can. It's not easy to get. I don't know if it's on. I know it's on Amazon for you to rent and or buy, but it's not streaming on Amazon. So there you go. So hold on one second. This movie was sort of like the catalyst into me becoming a filmmaker. So when I saw this movie, like I want to say it was like 98, and I would have been a junior in high school. In junior high school, I was on the fence of whether I wanted to become a filmmaker or if I wanted to stay as an actor. Because I loved writing and I was fascinated by directing, so I sort of wanted to do that. So I was thinking about it, like which one do I do? Do I do filmmaking or do I continue with the acting stuff? And I wasn't having as much fun with acting as I was with other stuff. So I sort of wanted to transition from one to the other and become more of a filmmaker than anything. And while that was happening, Clerks, the movie Clerks had come out. There was like Mallrats and Clerks, and I'd already discovered Clerks. So I'd already realized like you can make a movie in your backyard with your friends, like that was one of the big things. And then later it was later it was this movie that sort of like became the full thing for it. So I ended up deciding that this movie would be the sort of like this was kind of a jumping off thing for me. And I became obsessed with this movie, and it became my favorite movie. Like I watch it all the time. I watch it with my friends. I'd show people new. If you know anything about the story, it's about a low budget filmmaker who ends up who has burning stories to tell. Like, he wanted to tell people about him being a wearing Angora sweaters and his fascination with women wearing women's clothes and stuff. And then later he made monster movies because he loved monster movies and he could have Bela Lugosi in it. So he made Bride of the Monster. Then he made Plan 9 from Outer Space, Jailbait, stuff that some of the ones they don't talk about. They don't talk about Jailbait. They don't talk about Night of the Ghouls. They don't talk about, they mentioned sort of he went into the risque, stuff. And that was like in the later years, he sort of did like sex movies and stuff. And they weren't necessarily porns, but they were maybe they were, but some weren't. So like I saw one of them, and it was just him. Like I guess he was supposed to be making love with these women, but you don't really see that. You just see him kind of mess around with them, and then cuts, and then he's coming out all tired, and he's meeting up with the next one. It's called like The Photographer originally, and I forgot what the new one was called. But anyway, it was just like so. I became obsessed sort of with this stuff. I met Conrad Brooks. I've chatted with him on the phone before I met him. He was a really sweet guy. Unfortunately, he's passed away. I never met any of the other people. I'm kind of bummed that I never got to meet like Paul Marco or anyone like that, also from the thing. But I love this movie. Because it sort of showed that lifestyle, like of what it was like back in the 50s shooting movies, and how sort of similar it is today to low budget filmmaking. We probably take more, we have the stuff that he didn't have. Like imagine if Ed Wood lived today, like his Kickstarter, his Indiegogo would be and he'd be trying to raise money for Plan 9 from Outer Space Part 2, or whatever. And wish I kind of wish somebody had made. That'd be cool. Um, Plan 10 from Outer Space, Plan 20 from Outer Space. I don't know, whatever. Anywho, so he ended up sort of, getting this group of weirdos and misfits and dope addicts and Criswell, and who was a psychic and who at that time sort of was sort of a, I guess, a loser kind of person. And but they all absolutely loved him. Like they just thought he was the bee's knees, they all loved Ed, and they would follow him. And I've read these stories. I have a book that this movie is actually semi based on. It's loosely based, I would say, because a lot of they take liberties into the story. There's things that aren't true that happen in this movie. Like I said earlier, Conrad did not say that stuff to Bela Lugosi, and as far as he knew, Bela Lugosi had never called anybody a cocksucker, because Bela Lugosi was very polite with his language, and stuff. But it was, it was for humor and for the movie. So I don't ever get mad when I hear that stuff, because I'm just like, it's great, but it does kind of bother me sometimes when people think, like Bela Lugosi was like that or something, when he wasn't. Um, you know, he there's so many great stories too and stuff. Some of the things he, like, oh, Bela Lugosi, especially with him, he actually was living with his wife at the time that Ed Wood met him, and so he wasn't alone like they kind of make it out to be. But I'm pretty sure that was a uh then that was a casting issue. Like they didn't want to, or whatever, because they didn't want to cast somebody to play. I think her name was Lillian Lugosi or whatever, Bela Lugosi's wife, and they didn't want to probably find somebody to play her, and probably also get the permission from her or her estate, probably her estate, and everything. I don't know how it is when people die, if they can just make a movie off of you and make profit off your name or whatever. I mean, that's the other thing is Sarah Jessica Parker sort of never met with the person she was portraying, Dolores Fuller, and she ended up sort of being kind of you know rude about it, I guess. So I don't know. It's interesting to rewatch it and see all these things. I mean, obviously there's some great scenes, like the Baptists, having them be baptized. That was actually true. Tor couldn't fit in the sacred tub, so they all had to be baptized outside in the swimming pool and stuff. And it, things like that. Like they really did as much as they could to like keep it real. But you know, realness is fun sometimes, but most of the time, they need to step up and do something different and interesting and change things a little bit to make it more comedic. So that is, hold on. Okay, sorry, I am back. I had a problem going on in the house. Of course, that happens from time to time. So yes, so the movie itself was I don't even know where we left off. I know that a lot of the things that they did in the movie, some of it was true, some of it was not. The characters were amazing. Patricia Arquette did a great job, but from what I've understood, Kathy Wood was was not the woman that was sort of made, in in this movie. She was sort of a lot different, but that's fine. She was perfect for Ed, and let Ed do the things. And there's some great stories that were in the book for it was called Nightmare and Ecstasy, and it was like the Ed Wood story. So you should check that book out if you can. If you're a big Ed Wood fan like me, you probably already own it. But yeah, so it's just a wonderful, this is a wonderful movie. I try to show it to everybody. It is not for everybody. I remember showing it to a couple friends and they were like, this is, I don't like this. Uh, weirdly enough, my former roommate Jackie loved it. Well, didn't love it, but liked it. Thought it was cute. It is a wonderful movie, and I really enjoy it. I mean, there's great things like when they realized there were cops coming, they were like, "Hey, cops, we don't have permits, run!" Things like that that people still do today. And a lot of people will quote this movie on film sets, and it's just wonderful. I love seeing it because I know this movie by the back, in the back of my hand. I know all the quotes. I will quote it back to the screen. It is a comfort movie for me. I don't know also if it's also the black and whiteness to it that really just draws me in, but it just makes me feel good inside. And so if anybody ever asks, like, what's your favorite movie? This is my favorite film of all time. I think weirdly enough, like Disaster Artist, which I did before, is also one of my favorite films too now. And those are very similar. And I just absolutely love this movie, and I hope more people who have never seen it get to see it. Now, I don't know if some people appreciate it as much as others, but I bet if you've been in the independent film business, especially horror, you can definitely relate to this film. Like this film does as much with that as possible. So, especially if you're a fan of B movies and you're a fan of Ed Wood himself, this is definitely a movie that's a love story to Ed. It does not paint Ed in a bad way. It makes Ed look great. Ed will probably be smiling down from heaven saying, this is my movie. This is the movie that I will, that people will remember me by, not my movie that people will remember me by, which I bet people remember Plan 9 like the most. It got voted as like worst film of all time kind of thing, which is funny because really it's not. It doesn't even come close. There are movies being made today that are way worse than Plan 9. Plan 9 is actually, other than the continuity and other issues like that, it's still a fun movie and enjoyable. So I would recommend Pride of the Monster. That's my favorite. And we did a Indie Film Cafe episode of it, and we've done one for Night of the Ghouls and Sinister Urge. So we've done almost every one of them. So there you go. All right. So what's next? Next week is a natural disaster film. And I think I've got the one I want to watch, because I think I did do one already. I think I did Towering Inferno, but got one I want to watch. Actually, there's two choices. So one of two choices, and I'll tell you which the other choice was. But yeah, I absolutely can't wait. One of them I haven't seen the whole thing for, so that might be the one, but one I have seen all the way through and I love. And so you're probably thinking it's the exact opposite or something, but we'll see. Natural disaster film will be week 37. So, oh man, I am excited, man. So there you go. That's it, I guess. There's not much else going on. I will say definitely check out a lot of my other shows that we got going on. Check out our YouTube that you're on right now. There's tons of stuff. There's playlists that have all the other movies for you to peruse and check out. So thank you guys and hope you enjoy it. Bye.